Hello folks, in today's episode we talk about arrays. An array is a data structure we can use for managing numerical data only. The cool thing about PD is that we can interact visually with arrays, which is not a common thing among programming languages. Arrays can be found under Object Browser. On the right side, here we have it. You could just use its shortcut, that is Ctrl-Shift-A. As I told you before, an array is a graphical element, so if we enter Run mode and we click and drag, we can draw any shape or curve. At this point, we can inspect the content of any array by right-clicking on it, Open. We can visualize an array in two ways, as a graph or as a list. Graph is the same thing as the default view. We can also see in here. This is just a bigger window and it's easier to interact with it. The cool thing is that thanks to list, we can inspect at each index position, leftmost column, what value we set, rightmost column. To change the array settings, we can open the console panel, select the array. Here we can see the default size set to 100. If we change it, it will update the graphical element also. The range of each element goes from -1 to 1. So thanks to this, we can understand that the most common use for arrays is to store audio values. If we set save content to yes, it will save the content of an array even if we close and reopen the patch. This is very useful if you want to make presets or you just simply want to keep in memory the actual curve. Draw style is set to points, so we can easily see each element and its value. If we use as draw style polygon, this will create an interpolation between each point. If we set Bezier curve, it will smooth the curve even further. This, though, won't change the array behavior. Now, what if I want to populate this array using an algorithm instead of drawing manually with my mouse? The object I can use is called tabwrite. Tab stands for table. And there are two words we can use to describe an array. Array, of course, and table. There's no such a big difference and we can use these words interchangeably. If we want to find a difference, table is used in all those synthesis techniques where an array is used as a lookup table where we store one cycle of a waveform, something like this, more or less. And we read through this array at audio rate to produce a sound. But that said, table and array are two totally fine words to describe this specific data structure. If we take a look at the leftmost inlet, we can see how it is used to set the Y value, while the rightmost to set the index value. Before generating numbers to feed in, we can write the array name, which is array1 in my example. Then I want to create random number, rand.f in the range -1 to 1. And I want to write incrementally, so starting from index 0 to 99, so I can use a counter 0, 99. You go here and you there. Great. Now I can use a metro, and every 100 milliseconds, I want to split a bang to the counter first, and then to the random number generator. I can now use a toggle to activate the metro, and here it is how to populate an array with random numbers. What about reading data from an array? So I can make a new array and rename it frequency, size 100, it's fine. I want the range from 100 to 1000. Then I can draw anything, very random lines and curves. Fine. Then to read data from an array, we can use tabread. We can type in the array name, frick, and the only inlet says that it is used to set the table index. So we use a counter from 0 to 99. We can use a metro, as we've seen before. Toggle to activate it, send the bank to the counter, and the frequency, the data it is reading, I can send it to an oscillator. And then we can use an output to listen to what we're doing. Now, what if I want to trigger an envelope also instead of having this constant tone changing frequency? Here, before metro, I can insert a trigger bang bang, and I want the first bang to trigger this message that we can then send to a vline object. So the message is go to 1 in 5 milliseconds instantly, so no delay. Then go to 0 in 100 milliseconds after a delay of 5 milliseconds. Oops. At this point, we can multiply the vline. So here I can insert a multiplication. The vline goes here. And this bang goes to the counter. And let's take a listen. Not bad, isn't it? So far, we've been working with fixed size arrays. But what if I want to change the array size dynamically, maybe as I load a new patch or depending on some parameters that might be generated by the patch itself? So we have two methods. The first one requires array, the array object, not the graphical element. If you watched my previous video about lists, you'll easily understand how this object works. We can open the help file, and as you can see, if we declare an argument, it will set a specific function. The one we're interested in is array size. So in this example, I want the argument size and the array name is frick. Now I can send a message with a new size, like 10, and it will update my array. The second method uses what is called an internal message. So an internal message starts with a semicolon. We can then type the array name, which is frequency. Then we can use the keyword resize, and we can specify the new size, like 200. We can now trigger the message, and as you can see, it changed the array size. I can end this video by showing you how to read data in a range. We can use the array object with get function. We can type the array name, my array, in this example. This array, by the way, is of size 10, and values goes from 0 to 10. Now, I could just use a bang to output the entire array as a list. So we can use a list object to visualize the content of the array. Here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 values. Now, the cool thing about get is that we can set a range. So we can use two float boxes. The first one will set the index to output from, where 0 is start. Okay. And the second inlet, the one in the middle, defines the number or points to output from onset, where -1 is the end of the array. So I just want to output one value, starting at index 1, index 0. And here we have the first element, then index 1, 2, 3, and so on. If I increase this float box, it will output 2 values at the time. So starting from index 0, we have 9.7 and 8.9, and so on. And that was all for today's episode. If you've learned something new from this course and you want to support my channel and my work, consider joining my Patreon page. The link is in the video description. That said, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.